So in this video, Tony and I will be answering questions from you, the community. Specifically, we go over what we'd like to see if the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Chase Sapphire Reserve were to be updated, tips on the best time to book trips during peak travel times, and the pros and cons of product changing to a Ritz Carlton credit card earlier rather than later. Chase credit cards have been undergoing a lot of changes recently, so I wouldn't be surprised if the CSP or the CSR had a refresh soon, and of course, we always have to keep our eye on that Ritz Carlton credit card since its availability in the future may change as well. So with all that being said, let's just jump right in. So Dalton has the next question here. He says that if Chase were to update their Sapphire Preferred and Reserve, what multipliers, perks, and credits would you like to see added? I see people talk about how the Preferred is in desperate need of a refresh, and I'm curious on your thoughts on this. And then he also mentions, Tony, since we kind of went off of this, Team Classic Gold or Team Robinhood Gold. So what say you?
Well, it's a good question. All right, it's a good question. Right, look at how nice they both look. The Classic Gold and the Robinhood, kind of half gold. I don't know how it looks in person. I see thumbnails where it's solid gold. I haven't looked into it too much. However, if you ever looked back in the day, remember when we were in grade school, guys? Remember when we were looking at our stencils or little whatever you call those, the pencils with the colors and stuff. Remember the gold option? The gold option was like, okay, it sounds cool, but it looks like how this Robinhood card looks. It's kind of like a dulled, brownish looking thing, and that's what gold really is. But the thing is, I'm not on team regular gold. It's Team Classic Gold, which is referring to the Amex Classic Gold card. It's different. You see the difference there. Now the Amex Classic Gold that I'm looking at my screen right now, it looks to me what I think gold should be. So I think we should probably change the word, like the actual gold color should be changed to like the Amex Classic Gold version. I think we need to change the vernacular we use. But in this case, I'm not interested in the browning, whatever the regular gold looks like when it's mined. I like the refined Classic Gold.
Did you have any thoughts about the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve and what you'd want on it?
I mean, nothing that no one's already said already, or what you're about to say. My first thought when I see that question is literally what you have on the screen right there is at 3X Groceries. I think it would be great for the company. I think it would be great for everybody that has, these types of cards. I think it would just be good for everybody if they just added a grocery category and be a huge player in like beating Amex, even though people might say it's easy to beat Amex. But I would say that's my only thought for that. And I'm sure you'll articulate something probably more.
Yeah, I mean, when I thought about this question, because this is something that's been asked a lot about what you want for the Sapphire. And as someone who has never had a Sapphire Preferred or Sapphire Reserve, I kind of look at this more, what would drive me to get one of these cards specifically? And so for me, for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, it's really like the groceries is the big one, right? So they have online groceries. That's okay. You can like do Kroger mobile wallet and like that would work out. But like for the most part, you should have a grocery card in Chase Sapphire's ecosystem. And they don't have one. They're missing groceries and gas. And so if you miss one, that's fine. But missing those two, which are pretty common categories, I think is a miss. Especially when there's other cards like the City Premier card that has the same annual fee that can have groceries on it for the same level. And so that's one of the things. There's also, I think it should get a 3x travel multiplier. It's only 2x right now. And I know that there's a 3x on the Sapphire Reserve, but with the release of that new autographed Journey card that has the 5x hotels and 4x airlines, you have to look at that card at the $95 annual fee price point and say you have to make this card more competitive because 2x on travel is nowhere even close to 4x or 5x that the autographed Journey has. So you have to make that better. Like everyone mentioned too, a welcome offer that's better would be helpful. They have had this in the past with 100K and 80K offers, but I think that would make it a little bit better for that card as well. For the Reserve card, they have been nerfing, this card a bunch of times, most recently with that Priority Pass losing the restaurant benefit on July 1st. But I think for this card to replace a card like the Platinum card, it has to do a few things. And the first thing from multipliers, I think 3x of dining travel is okay. I think it has to have some kind of 1.5x other category. Now, it could be like the Trace Freedom card, Unlimited card, or the Rise card where it gets 1.5x on everything. Or if they want to go like the Platinum route and do like 1.5x on like at $2,000 or more purchases, some level of purchases of this level or higher, that's also something that I think should be on there. Just because like having 1x on this card won't make me want to get this card for any reason, especially with that Capital One Mentor X having 2x back on everything. Also, the Platinum card has a lot of lounge access. Sapphire is cutting the lounge access, but they have a unique ability in that they have the United ecosystem also partnered with them too. And so right now, the United Club is very hard to access through credit cards unless you have the Club Infinite card, which gives you unlimited access to the United Clubs. I want to say it's 550 or 650 annual fee. I think no, it's 575 annual fee for the Chase United Club Infinite card. But the Sapphire Reserve card doesn't have any United Club access. There is the United Explorer card with 2 passes per year. And even that benefit on the reserve would be helpful to make this a little bit more helpful to get in terms of a travel credit card, like a premium travel credit card. They also, I would like them to have hotel status as well, just like the Platinum gives you Marriott Gold and Hilton Gold. If you got like Hilton Gold and like Hyatt Discoverist, that would be a really big reason to get this card. And I think that would be really good for a lot of Hyatt people out there, especially because those Hyatt cards, they're okay, but the earnings kind of aren't that great on them. So having another way to get Discover status on Hyatt would be a good way to go. And of course, I would like to do this with no statement credits. That's, we'll see how that goes because that seems to be the way that these cards are going. With these, you'll probably end up seeing an increase in the annual fees of these cards. But I want to just mention that that's kind of what I would wish to have. I know that Matt Clausen has a lot of opinions upon this too, because he's done a lot of videos on his own about this exact topic. And so I think one here I saw, Chase should be really looking at mobile wallet, which I totally agree with. I think all issuers should look at mobile wallet because the classic grocery, gas, travel, all these categories, they can all be consolidated into one category, which is the mobile wallet category. Whether you put a limit on that or not is up to the issuer, but I think it should be more of a normal category, kind of like how they're using online purchases, online shopping as a new category. That should be on a lot of cards too, because a lot of people these days do shop online, and that's kind of a miss for a lot of multipliers for these credit card companies. Filmo says CSR is trash, so I think you're in the same boat as my boy Cesar. That also says that the Club Infinite is $525. Thank you, Matt, for correcting me. $525 annual fee, and it's super awesome. Yeah, I think if you fly United and you don't have the Infinite card, you should get one, especially if you fly it like a lot, because that's a great way to get access to those lounges. So that's what my thoughts are for my wish list. Do you have anything to add to that, Tony?
I love the idea of hotel status, especially. I don't know if Hilton would ever get that. It'd be really cool, but that's why I liked the video that Joe Barreto did recently talking about the Founders card, which again is like an additional, I forget how much, maybe $595, something like that. But that gives you like a lot of different statuses that, when paired with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, could be a more powerful card. But again, it's $1,000 bills, so just some sort of status. I don't know if I would even value Hyatt Discoverist, to be honest. I mean, my wife has Discoverist. There's nothing really special, really, you get with it. It's kind of trash. Marriott Gold, it seems to be the same. Hilton Gold is like really where it's at. So if I got that, I think that's really powerful for a lot of people. That would get some eyebrows raised.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And Monty chimes in saying he has a friend who has the JP Morgan Reserve, and that card does come with United Club access. And obviously that's great for the JP Morgan Reserve card, but a lot of people don't have that card. So again, I don't have to be like unlimited. It could be like 4 a year, 8 a year, like the US Bank Ultra Reserve gives you like a party pass for 8 a year. Something like that would be just nice to have, and a more draw to have that card, and would probably push more business to United, honestly. So I think it'd be a win-win for everybody. The next question comes from RemGB. So he asks the question, how good are points for travel, especially flights during school, vacation weeks, or summer? Because he finds it hard to find availability for a decent deal for booking with points. This is where I think the CSR is helpful, because you get at least 1.5 cents per point for working with cash in such situations. He has a family with kids. This is one of his biggest problems, to use his Amex points and other transferable currencies. Tony, do you have any tips for summer or Christmas holiday travel bookings with points?
So I never actually did like the two where I can compare like perfectly from my personal experience, like, okay, Chase Portal versus whatever. But I just know my experience, which is Hyatt and Hilton hotels using their respective currencies, I guess transferring Chase points for Hyatt. But in all the times I've ever booked anything that happened to be during, busy times, there's a few things that I found along the way. And for the most part, usually like, I don't know if it's easy to see here, but more specifically, when I was booking this Charleston trip to the Mills house, if you look between the dates, what did I put here? I think I put August and May. and you can see that the May is a little bit cheaper. It's just depending on when you're actually going to be on vacation or you're going to be out of school and during these holidays. Typically, if you just look a few days, give or take, given how long your vacation is, a few days outside of the holiday day, you can change your, well, maybe cash price a lot less. And sometimes, 50% less depending on just, picking a couple, days difference. It's funny. I don't know if I actually put oh no, I did put this on the screen. Like this Hyatt, for example, I think that was the end of May was a $453 for this hotel in Charleston. And then a couple days later in June, it was $700 a night. So, basically a 50% increase on the cash price just because you decided to check a couple days after. So I think that's my first thing is, yeah, it's going to be a little hard, but that's part of finding a good redemption. So planning ahead, like I mentioned here, booking as soon as award availability is open is another thing. So as soon as you have an opportunity to pay with points, you want to book that because typically you're going to get the best deal. The longer you wait to book the travel and to book the points, sometimes it can be inflated and has been inflated in my case a few times. So, as soon as, and what I mean by award availability is just the ability to pay points for a Hilton stay or a Hyatt stay. Hyatt's infamous for, everybody taking all the award stays, being able to pay with points, and then now you only have cash bookings. So planning ahead, you're going to get the best price. You're also going to be able to deviate from those couple of days here and there, and maybe get a cheaper cash price if you have to go with that. And then you're also going to be able to book with points just by doing it as early as possible. Also, typically I found, early or late summer usually offers the better prices because it's not in the heat of when the standard proletariat is going on vacation where everybody like you and me are looking. So, maybe late May, I know some schools are getting out, around there, and maybe you have some time, like down in South Carolina, they're out at the end of May. In New York, it's June, so I guess it depends what state you're living in. And then late summer, I mean, hey, if you have a little summer off, you could possibly wait till like mid to later August is where I've also found some really good deals. But like, of course, if you're booking July 4th, expect some hotel price is going to be expensive depending on the area you're in. And like I said, mentioned here, it depends on the location too. Like, is it even an area that is super touristy? Like, where I've been recently, Charleston, St. Augustine, Orlando, these types of places, Boston, during these holidays is when you get at some crazy stuff. And it's good to know and research the areas, and because they all have their own little holidays. Like I would have never known without doing a tour in Savannah, Georgia, that St. Patrick's Day was the craziest time of the year, and they have 1 million people, almost like it's Times Square for the ball drop, that there would be that many people just for St. Patrick's Day. So if I just was just like myself and just like, oh, I guess I'll just book at St. Patrick's Day, let's go to Savannah. It's a quiet town, right? It's really slower than molasses, as they say. And then I would realize, like, what? There's 1 million people here. So sometimes looking up the area you're going to, be like, is there any holidays, like extra holidays in the where I'm going? And you could kind of go back from that and figure out where the best, cash price and stuff would be. Yeah, so I have some people that I talk to who just build up free night certificates from like their Hilton hotels. Maybe they have cards like the Marriott, Boundless, or you have a Ritz card, or you have, the Hyatt card that gives you a free night certificate. Any of these cards, Wyndham and whatnot, who knows, with points. Sometimes it might be worth it if you're going to be taking like non-peak time stays, use all your points for that, or you pay with cash if you can, if it's cheaper. And then during the times, if you absolutely need to do on-peak times during holidays, maybe schedule your free night certificates for those times. And this way you could have the least amount of cash out of pocket, at least the way I think about it. And I think that might be possible for some people, especially.
I will also want to mention that if you haven't checked out Dugraz's channel, Dugraz is actually a really great resource for that because he also has kids too. And kind of on the line of what you were talking about, Tony, sorry, I think you dropped out again. He actually uses Hilton's because he has an ability, I guess they have an ability to, when you book hotel stays, you can actually have connecting rooms that are booked alongside each other, which is actually a pretty unique ability. And I think there are others that do that, but I don't know because I don't really have kids. But he is a really good resource for that too.
Yeah, great resource on all of that for sure. That Hilton does have that. Marriott also does have some that I've found that, some of the brands do have a lot of like connecting rooms. It just depends what property they're renovating and whatnot a lot of the times. But at least for these specific places that I've been to, Hyatt Place, Hyatt House, Embassy Suites, Holiday Inn Expresses, I've noticed can have those connecting rooms and or rooms that have like as a base level room, different sections that you can put your kids on, and or rooms that a lot of them have a lot of double queen beds. So this way you don't have to share, one bed with 5 of your kids or whatever. So, so
Yeah.
these are the places I found that did that. So I thought that might be of some use. And of course, depending on where the location is, the high places, houses, and Holiday Inns will have free breakfast. So if you have kids, saving money, and then maybe if this helps, booking Hiltons with that Hilton brands that have dining credits that you can pay for your kids' foods and stuff like that. So I know it's not necessarily the topic at heart, but it's just something I thought might be interesting or worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of relate to what you were saying. For me, it's harder because I don't really have kids. I recently got married, and so I don't have the same difficulties with booking trips. It's basically based off my work schedule, not based off of major holidays or spring break, things like that. And so I put these two cards up here because they both have a 1.5x redemption in their travel portals respectively. Sapphire Reserve obviously is something that you use, and that's fine. The biggest thing is you want to book as far as you can in advance because you'll have the most opportunity to know what kind of good deals you have, and you have all the availability that's possible, both for airlines and for hotels. I also want to mention that Wang Wei had a really great comment as well. Thank you, Wang Wei, for leaving this down here. If you haven't checked out his channel, by the way, he's got some really good travel tips, especially. So definitely check out his channel as well. He says the Amex Business Platinum gives you a 35% back on redeeming points, and it gives Centurion Lounge access. So I think if you have the Amex Biz Platinum, that is certainly an option for your MR points too. I think once you redeem your points for that selected airline at that level, that's a 1.57 cent per point redemption value. The only thing I would say about that particular opinion is that it's only for a airline you selected, like for your airline instant credit, for example. And it also has to be first and business class redemption too. It can't be for economy. And that can be problematic when it comes to someone with kids, because as we all know, for example, Luke Points to Miles says this all the time, like he can't all the time book business class, first class for all of his family because it'd just be way too many points. But if you're like someone like myself, I have a player two, just like you, Tony, you and your player two, our wives, we just two of us. So it's not as bad as traveling with a whole family. But I think the main thing is to make sure you book as far as you can in advance. So the next question comes from Joshua, and he says, should I product change to the Ritz Carlton card this summer in case Chase changes the ability to make that change, or wait another year to get the Bonvoy Brilliance welcome offer before product changing my Boundless to the Ritz card? And I know Matt Clausen just did a video about his predictions for the Ritz Carlton card, which, by the way, is a very good video. So definitely check that out after this if you can. But basically what he's explaining is he wants to get the Ritz Carlton card earlier rather than later, because he doesn't want to have anything change. And I don't like doing that necessarily because you can't predict what's going to happen in the future. So you don't want to do something based off of some kind of prediction. You just have to assume things are the way they're going to be and then kind of go through the motions that they are. But if you were to do what you wanted to expect, what you would do is you'd have a Boundless, you product change to the Ritz. You would have to keep the Ritz for 1 year. At the time of recording of this, it's $450 in annual fee. So you'd pay that. But then you'd product change the Ritz to the Boundless after 1 year. As we all know, the Ritz Carlton doesn't give you that free night award until after the first year. So you may have to wait a little bit first to have that populate into your merit account, the $85K free night award. But that's what that cost would be. You would product change to the Boundless, get the Brilliant, because you can't get the Brilliant welcome offer if you have a Ritz card at the same time. And then once you secure that welcome offer on the Brilliant, then you can product change the Boundless back to the Ritz again. And I think you can do this within the same year. I think that's okay. But it's a lot of moving parts, right? And so I always recommend get the Boundless, get the Brilliant first, deal with the Amex stuff first, and then you can product change back to the Ritz Carlton, because that's always going to be an option for you. Now, I think the question I was asking themselves is that going to always be the case? And the answer may not be yes. It may actually change, but we don't know what that change is going to be. It's difficult to really predict that change. So to do that prematurely, I would not do that, but I could be wrong. So it depends on your comfort level, but the way you do it, it's more of a lot of back and forth. So I don't know if you feel the same way, Tony, about that process or not, but I do want to mention that in terms of what I would do.
No, I think that's. I actually wasn't even aware that you couldn't get the Brilliant welcome offer if you're just holding a Ritz. Not that you had one before. I didn't realize that was a thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's the biggest one for the Brilliant is that you cannot get a Brilliant welcome offer if you have a Ritz card currently. But if you take that Ritz card away by downgrading it to the Boundless, now you're pretty good. I want to say there may be a 30-day period too, but I have to look back at the terms and conditions. They're pretty complicated, so I have to just refresh my memory.